So tell us about Uluru.
Right then, okay. Look, I'm going to assume that this is going to be interesting. Okay, I'll tell you about Uluru. I might as well do a fairly long talk because I don't think I'll be able to do much else but that. Okay. This begins about 4 years ago when some elders contacted me in regards to a ceremony that was taking place at Uluru. Now that ceremony, at the time, they told me that on the 21st of December 2020, and this was about 4 years ago, and they've all made that date ever since, there would be a long ceremony that would take place there where primarily what they told me was that there would be a splitting. I suppose the Mayans call it the forming of the two roads, and at that separation people would have to make a choice about which road they rode or walked upon. Now they went a bit further than that, and I was told this on many occasions, that they claimed what would actually take place is at that ceremony they could open up what they then called a magic box, and of course it was actually the rock itself. It wasn't actually a box as such, it was Uluru, and that two vibrations would begin. Now, to put it very simply, they referred to the Schumann Resonance and said at the moment the Earth vibrates at one heartbeat. Well, after, or what would begin to happen is there would be two heartbeats at the same time. And primarily what then would happen is that each person would have to choose the path they wanted to walk on. And over the time after the 21st of December, that would become clearer. Now, what they also told me was that the elders could begin or open this box, but unless there were humans, and many of them, and I was told it was a six-figured amount, that could put energy into that box at that particular moment, there would be, it wouldn't fail, it would fail, it wouldn't work, and the Earth would clean itself up in a more catastrophic way. So primarily that was the prophecy. Now, I've got to be honest to begin with, when I was told this by an elder with very strong credentials, I took it on board because of the quality of the elder and the standing that elder had. But I had a lot of trouble trying to work out how you could have two physical realities on one physical plane. So that's how it began. And then what took place was other elders contacted me with the same story. And because they repeated the same thing without any conference or liaison with other elders who told me this, I became more open to the fact there could be something there. Now, as time went on one occasion, I remember on one given day, I had two different elders talk about the fact that when Uluru was turned on, what they actually said would take place is that a sort of energy surge would run down 5 dreaming tracks within Australia. And I thought that was it. Then both elders told me about, separate to each other, that there would be a 6th on what they called the Rainbow Ridge that went to New Zealand. And if those sites were turned on, then all other sites on the planet would become energized and slowly start to vibrate and increase in, I'm not sure what the right word for that is, energy, spirituality, magic. I'm not really sure what you put in there, but that was primarily what they said. So, as time went on, we decided we commit to this, not because I fully ever believed it, but simply because as the world started to fall apart, I couldn't see an alternative way the world was going to fix itself up. So we put on some online conferences last year, 7 of them. It was called Our Alien Ancestry, What Comes Next. And in each of them, we discussed the fact that this could happen, and we had elders and others that were talking about, well, what would happen, have the place, how it would set up, how people would live, the sorts of qualities that were needed. And we put 7 of those on, and all the way through I kept saying the same thing, that I wasn't fully convinced this was going to happen, simply because as this happened, we're also being attacked. People told us the elders know nothing about this, we're insulting people, cultural appropriation. Other people called us liars, and we got attacked by quite a few people, and it became quite heated, to say the least. And all the way through we kept pushing forward, saying maybe something's going to happen. Now, when we were invited to a conference there at the same time, which was coincidentally held over the 20th to the 22nd of December. They did it because it was the actual summer solstice. Now, the reason why the 21st was chosen was because it was also the grand conjunction and the summer solstice. It was made clear to me that this was part of what was taking place, and that there was something within Uluru itself, which I suspect were Pleiadian crystals, that was going to facilitate this. Okay, at the moment I've got a comment back saying we're still managing, so I'll continue onwards.
Excellent.
And we'll go step by step. So, this was the deal, that when we went on, we asked other people to join in meditation on the 21st, and explaining that they had to have some sort of contact with the ground when they were doing the meditation, so this could then run back to Uluru. So that was basically what we were told, and that's what we tried to get across with our online conferences. And we tried to get people to commit. Now, we found out on that day and after, the number we were seeking was in 6 figures. Well, we got 8. Somewhere between 15 to 20 million people committed to doing this, which we are eternally grateful for, because all the way through we made it clear that we weren't convinced. Now, on the online conference we're going to do next, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about the things that made us feel this was never going to take place. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip all that and take ourselves to the 20th of December, the day before. We've got to try and do this chronologically. And on that day I was speaking at the conference, and I was telling people the same thing. Gee, I hope this works, because I can't see an alternative. Why not just throw your money in with this, join us anyway, meditate at a time which was changed at the last minute, and I won't go into the reasons for that happening because that was part of the drama that took place around it. I'm not going to pick that part out. But after we gave that presentation, I got a phone call at Uluru to inform me that yes, it was going to take place.
Wow.
So I'm going to pick it up from that point and explain what then took place up to, including, and after this event. Okay, soon after I got that phone call, I went back inside to the conference, and there were about 400 people there, and they all knew about what was going to take place because I spoke earlier in the day that this is what was going to happen. And my understanding was, I spoke to the elders that afternoon, and I won't go into the conversation today, but I will tomorrow, and I was asked to bring some rocks, quite a few of them, to assist in that ceremony that was going to take place. The ceremony was going to take place, and for reasons I won't go into this time, I decided the rocks weren't needed there. They were needed with the people here because around the world we were doing ceremonies, and I figured we should do one there. Now, I decided because people went to Uluru, the place was packed out. Everywhere, every piece of accommodation was booked, and quite a few people, I knew that the people on conference were going to go to a place about 1 kilometre away from where the ceremony was going to take place, and they were going to spend 2 hours there. So I decided I'd hold a conference within the Uluru resort, for all the people, the hundreds who didn't go to the conference but just came anyway and wanted to be part of this. So I did. And when we went back, my intention was they'd go one way and I'd stay behind and look after the others. And then it all changed. Because right in the middle of the conference, the director of the resort came in and he was told that he had to interrupt the conference to read a letter that had been typed out by the Northern Territory government.
Wow.
And it was a threat. And what it said was this, that I'm sure you people have the word COVID. Well, in Australia, you may or may not know, we virtually don't have it. And at the moment, there's been no cases. And for a while, we had 1 or 2 in the whole of Australia, and there were none. But at this particular time, one part of Sydney had about 12 cases, and they closed that half of Sydney down. But the rest of Sydney was okay, and those people came. The people from the northern beaches of Sydney did not come. So everyone there, okay, about the letter, okay. Everyone there sat as the letter was read out, and it was a threat, an incredible set of threats. Number one, it said that everyone from Sydney, now this wasn't announced by the government in Sydney or the Australian government, but the Northern Territory government said that everyone that came from Sydney will be locked down for the next 2 weeks and had to spend their time at Uluru there. And they would not be allowed to leave their rooms from that point on. Now, this was a shock because we had about 150 people came from Sydney to the conference, and they were allowed to come. They were allowed to fly in. There was no news report about this, and there'd been no spreading of the COVID virus throughout Sydney. It was still locked into that area, and soon after disappeared completely and has never come back. What we were told was from Alice Springs, 30 to 40 police would be coming in the morning, and they would be going around to each person that was from Sydney, and they must stay inside there, and they would be checked, and then action would take place. And alongside that letter, Jetstar, one of the major, that's part of Qantas's offshoot for not international flights but national flights, it announced it would be flying one empty plane up tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock to take people back from Sydney. There'd be 180 seats there and 150 people, and they would be told if they did not get on that flight, they would have to pay for 2 weeks accommodation at Uluru, and that's around $800 a night, which would mean over 14 days, that would be a lot of money. About $12,000 they'd have to pay. Everyone was petrified. They knew the police were coming tomorrow. A lady came up to me and said, "I've got children in Sydney being minded. What will I do?" And I said, "Well, look, lady, I'm sorry, but from my point of view, and I won't have Christmas with them." And she said, I said, "Well, look, man," I said, "if I was you, they're your kids. You want to have Christmas with them?" "Yeah." I said, "Go. Get on the plane. Don't worry about it. Just go." So we went out that night and we bought some food at a takeaway place, and there was a sign saying, if you're from Sydney, don't even come and get takeaway. You ring up and we'll deliver it to you. And 2 of the people we're working with were from Sydney, and they both had migraines by this time, and they didn't know what to do, but they were not going to be thrown out like this. They were going to stay and see what happened. So in the morning, we get up, and lo and behold, nothing's going on. All of a sudden, the people who were supposed to be locked down are waiting and waiting for the police, and the police come. Not 40, but 2. And they stand by their car. And there is a COVID thing that comes, a little, some sort of portable caravan to test for COVID. And then they start ringing up each of the units, including ours, and asking us, do we come from the northern the northern beaches of Sydney? And said, no, we come from Byron Bay. "Oh, thank you." And they rang up all the people from Sydney and asked them. This was after 8 o'clock, after the plane had left, by the way. "Are you from the northern beaches?" And some people said, "No, I'm from Guildford, I'm from Albany." "Oh, that's okay. It doesn't matter anymore. It's fine. That's all right. It's fine." And the next thing you know, the night before, the people from Sydney couldn't eat anywhere, In the morning, when they got out, they went straight to the bar, to the restaurant, to everywhere, and they were accepted in. Nothing had changed. Nothing had changed. Lo and behold, now they were welcome. The police stayed around for 3 hours, and apparently in one unit, not from Sydney, someone got sick. And they went and told them, I feel a bit ill. Oh, great, we've got someone to test. Fantastic, let's test you. And they did. And guess what? They didn't have COVID. And they were told, no, that's fine, you can spread with everyone else. And about an hour later, the police left. And then the best part happens. Jetstar makes a new announcement. Their announcement was there'd be no more flights from Uluru to Sydney. That was the last flight. They said there's been a bit of a mix-up. Flights from Sydney to Uluru and back will continue as usual. So lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, what they were trying to do is create fear and panic and concern and break down the morale of these people. So here we are in the morning, about 50 people got on the flight. Now I can tell you, many other people from Sydney left at other stages. No one checked them for temperature. No one asked them where they came from. They were allowed to get on the flight. No one checked the thing. They were allowed to get on the Jetstar flight and go back home. And when they got back to Sydney, no one said a word to them. It was a stitch up. But the biggest stitch up was it wasn't just the Northern Territory government that made up this lie. Jetstar got involved too. Now they said all flights are as usual. So begins the 21st, the drama of the night before. So for those people who think that this ceremony, oh, come on, you're just making this up, this is not really true. Well, why did the police come, say they were coming in 40 but come in 2? Exactly. Why did everyone from Sydney, and by the way, we have letters to prove this, and everyone there saw them because everyone there got the letter.
Yeah.
It was to prevent people from attending. What they wanted to do was for 150 people not to be there, and the ones who were left to be sort of terrorized and concerned and worried and not being able to give positive energy. They're still trying to break down this ceremony. So the next thing that happens is in the morning, everyone gets back there and they're all starting to feel a little bit better because, well, no, 50 people had left. There was still 350 there, but 50 had gone and missed out on this completely. Yes, there was a critical number we needed, but by the way, I can assume you the critical number I was told way back by different elders was it was 144,000. I remember the first time I said to this person, have you been reading the Bible? And they said, why? What, is it in there? I said, yes, it is. It's a lot. Well, I didn't know that. That's just a number. We got 15 million. So these people, that didn't matter. We got the numbers way past, and I'll tell you about what actually happened at the ceremony as we get there. So in the morning, there we go. The announcement is I'm still doing the ceremony with the mob that aren't going. They're still going. But at 10 o'clock, that all changes. For the first time ever, Uluru was locked down, and everyone that had got there from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, they went around and got them all out and chased them out and told them, leave. You're not allowed to stay there. And it was locked down for the next 2 days, that day and the next day. Never happened before, ever. The reason it happened was because they were doing this ceremony there, I knew that, and they didn't want anyone in the way for that day and the next day. So by now, I know this is going on, but here's what happens. That means that whole group of 350, because 50's gone, they're not doing a ceremony anymore. It's been called off. So the people running the whole show come and see me and say, would I look after them? And we go to the same person who read out that we weren't allowed to go. We went and saw him, and they started getting stuck into him and said, don't blame me, I just read the letter out. I don't know what's going on either, but one of the lady got really into him big time, but it wasn't his fault. He was just reading out what the government said. Anyway, what happened was they did decide, yes, we can help. Now, what they decided we could do, because I had about 70 rocks there, which are sacred rocks, the most important rocks in this country. I was ready to put them in formation, but we had nowhere to go. So the manager of Uluru Resort, he sits around, gets back to us and said he gave us a place. Now, it's quite symbolic. The place was a football field. We couldn't see Uluru. It was behind the toilets. We knew that. But I knew if I aimed my rocks at the left-hand goalpost, we'd be aiming at Uluru. So what happens now is that night's coming up, it's getting towards the 7:32, and 350 people are bussed about 2 k's from where they were, and we got them ready. They sat around the rocks and we prepared for the 20 minutes of complete silence where everyone on this planet is supposed to send a positive energy. And they did. And there I am sitting there, and the ceremony was utterly successful, but which was a complete shock to me, because by that time so much was going on, I just didn't think it was going to work, but it did. And everyone was very positive. And then at the end of the ceremony, as it finished, I thought to myself, okay, I really believe something's happened here, because people who were meditating said they could feel the earth vibrating. Quite a few of them came up and took their hands off the earth because they could feel it vibrating. Then people were touching them after, and they were still vibrating. People got these amazing meditative reactions. But ladies and gentlemen, here's the problem. I want to prove to the world this has happened. All I've got is anecdotal stories of I'm shaken and I'm having visions and all this sort of stuff. It is not enough to actually convince anyone. But what did happen there, and ladies and gentlemen, we put these pictures up, and that's what I'm going to lead up to, is we got bombarded with stories and photographs from around the world. And it wasn't one, it wasn't two. We have around about 60 to 70 to release. So this is what we did. We put them out in batches of 3. And at the moment on our website, Forgotten Origin, if you go to the articles there, you'll see one article there where we've put up 6 photographs. And they're up. And I'm going to tell you about some of those. Well, 5 are photographs, 1 is a graph, and 1's a story. So I'm going to tell you about that first load up of the first group that's gone up. And in it, we had the following. We had the Schumann Resonance. It was sent to us, a graph. And what's fascinating, ladies and gentlemen, you can look at the graph, so you can check this stuff, I'm not making it up. At 7:30, according to the graph there, it was 0.3. At 7:32, it was 30. It had gone up 100-fold and stayed there for the next 4 hours, oscillated between 30 to 32 to 36, and then dropped back. Now, the scientist who said this to it from the Ukraine University said, look what happened on the second day. And if you look on the second day, you'll find it's nearly an exact replica of the first day, but softer and lower. And he said it's still reverberating from that particular day. So there we have the Schumann Resonance going up 100-fold when 15 million people start sending positive energy to one location. That is a hint from an empirical point of view that maybe something had happened. But I'm going to go back to the ceremony for a while and tell you what happened there before I go back to the other photos, because we're going to come up to one. As I was about to put the rocks in formation, when I finally finished and was happy with it, 2 birds circled around the formation 3 times and everyone saw it, then flew up in the trees, and I knew that meant they were right. And as I was doing that, I looked up and there was a grey cloud, and it was so grey I thought, oh my God, it's going to rain. We've got 350 people here. We're going to get saturated. This is going to be chaos, because I wasn't sure the ceremony was going to work, and here comes the rain. Well, we did that, but I've got pictures of the cloud. Somebody put them up before, so it was grey. Then all of a sudden, yes, somebody said they've seen the photos. Okay, great.
Yeah, I saw it.
The cloud has changed. It has gone past sunset at 7:36 now, or whatever it is, 7:37, because we're past that a bit now. We've done about 20 minutes, probably about 7:40 by then. The cloud has turned into purple, it's turned into hot pink, it's turned into orange, every colour you would imagine. And down in the horizon, you will see the sky, and it's a washed out grey. But there in the middle of that cloud, there is a gap in the cloud, and there's the deepest iridescent blue you would ever see. Even in the middle of the day, it doesn't get that blue. But there in the middle of the night, basically, there it is shining this massive blue, a Pleiadian blue. Because I do believe the crystals that were put inside Uluru that accentuated and accelerated this come from the Pleiades. I've been told that many times by my elders. What actually happened was, while I was giving charcoal paint for all the 300 people, 350 people, there were didge players and crystal bowl players, and people were singing and stuff building up to that moment because everyone was getting positive and cleaning themselves ready to do this. They had people to put on after the event, but nobody was listening to what was going on. All everyone was doing was looking at those clouds saying, what is that? I spoke to the chief security guard from Uluru and I said, have you seen the sunset like that? She said, never. That's ridiculous. Look at that blue. What's going on here? I've never seen that like that before. So we're starting to get what I call a second sign that something amazing is taking place. But then I remember I did some interviews with other people that did this meditation in other places around Australia, and they all spoke about the wonderful things that happened to them and how much they were affected by it and the experience they had. And they asked me, well, what did you get out of it? My son had the vibration and they were expecting something brilliant. And I said, me, over that 20 minutes, not a thing, nothing. And they were really disappointed. I said, that's not my job here. My job is to take in what's going on there and try and convince people. I said, but I did get one thing. And they said, oh, what was it? What was it? What happened to you? Oh, I said, nothing. No, that's not what I got. And this is what happened. Those 350 odd people, we had the rocks inside an area and it was sort of fenced off by fairy lights. I went to the rocks to start packing them up and I turned around and there were about a dozen people that were singing in a circle, holding arms and singing around in a circle. And it was so much like an American Indian, Sioux, Arapaho, Hopi dance around the top of around the fire when they're doing ceremony. They were singing and going around in a circle. I thought, that's novel. Where did that come from? I don't remember anyone starting that up because no one started it. It just happened. So I kept moving the rocks. Looked back a minute later, it wasn't 12. It was about 80 or 90 people. There were 3 rows. And they were getting a little bit close to the rocks. We were packing away, so I hurried a bit more. A minute later, it wasn't 90. It was about 250. And within a minute past that, everyone was dancing, holding arms and going around in circles. We just managed to move the rocks in time before they started dancing over that area too. This went on for the next half hour. But ladies and gentlemen, no one organised it. It just happened spontaneously. They had become tribal. That's what I recognised. We're on sacred original ground and they were becoming part of a normal indigenous ceremony. No one arranged it, it just happened. It came out of the whole event. So yes,
That's
somebody
amazing.
just wrote there, we should all do this. Oh my God, we should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was too busy clearing up the rocks and saving them. In the end, I was throwing rocks to other people, putting it in the bags, but none of the rocks were lost and none were trampled on. So we start to get a feeling for what's taking place there. Now, I can tell you in America, I think it was in Atlanta, we got a photograph there at 7:32 from their point of view, whatever it was there, not the same time, but whatever it was to equate to that time. And there, it was dark, it was night. But guess what? The moon was blue and so were the clouds at 7:32 our time, whatever it was there. And Atlanta, Georgia is probably the opposite side. We're on the bottom, they're on the top of the world to us. I just feel like a line went straight through the earth and came out the other side there and then punched through the clouds again. It was the same blue, but it was dark and at night. So now I'm starting to think, what is going on here? There might be something to it. Straight away, and we actually put this up on the conference the next day, we got that amazing picture from Croatia. And I do know for a fact, because I've gone into more detail, this went viral throughout the whole of Croatia and was shown on national TV, I think in Serbia, Montenegro. It was like there was well, it looks so much like a UFO, it's ridiculous. In the sky, halfway up, nothing above it, not a thing, and below it, a cylinder of golden light that goes into the water. Now, before you say to me, or someone says, Photoshop, Photoshop, I can tell you there are hundreds and hundreds of comments made in Croatia on Facebook, and they all spoke about what they saw. Not about a photograph, but what they actually saw. And it's just a pure cylinder of golden light that goes into the water. Is it any coincidence that 2 days later Croatia had the largest earthquake it's ever had? I suspect not. But ladies and gentlemen, that was not the most convincing piece of evidence, and believe me, it's not photoshopped, it's real. Whatever it is, I don't know what that energy in there to help this happen. I think they were making a contribution. But the most amazing thing we put up, and it's there, you can see it, it's a 1.5 to 2 second movie, the shortest movie ever made. And it was taken by a group of people that were watching Uluru, not from our celebration, but somewhere different again, because remember the mob I was going to look after, I couldn't, so they just went and sat at a viewing platform 20 k's away. Now, the person who sent this to me made it very clear there was no one behind him, and this was not a flash from a bulb taking a picture. What we have is a 1.5 second flash of white light that covers the whole of the screen that you've got there, uniformly the same intensity. Now, if it was a flash behind, you'd have a central point that was bright, then it would fade at the edges. No, it's all the same. But it doesn't go into Uluru. None of the white light goes there. It comes out. And that happened at exactly 7:32. So what that tells me, the Schumann Resonance tells me at that time, the Earth vibrated 100-fold greater. And at that time, you can see it. And we've had people look at it. Many people have looked at it, and skeptics have looked at it, and they said, we cannot believe it. We don't know what it is. Well, we do. 15 million people turned on that rock. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have more of those columns coming up next in Australia. We have, there's a shot that took place in one place where there would have been 100 lightning strikes within 1 acre on a basically just a grey clouds, nothing major taking place, no rain, no wind, nothing. It just came out of the earth and went out. Now, I want to go a little bit further before I explain what this actually means, because what I've told you so far seems to indicate that because two planets somewhere off in the distance, which is Jupiter and Saturn, got in an alignment, and it was a summer solstice at the same time, which hasn't happened together for thousands of years, by the way. Yes, at 1222 there was a great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, but not at the same time as the summer solstice. There's a difference there, ladies and gentlemen, a big difference. But what I do want to talk about is this. For those people who think, well, you know, it's just two planets in a line, what difference would it make? I want to take you through the solar system and explain to you what's happened to our solar system just before and just after that date. And I want to go to the far edge first. I want to go to the non-planet. The experts have decided that Pluto no longer exists as a planet, but can we still refer to it as one for the sake of this?
Sure thing.
But I need to tell you something. Pluto has changed massively. What's taken place is that Pluto now lost 80% of its atmosphere, or it's been compacted 80%, and only 1/5 of it's left. It went. Now, all this information comes from NASA, and in each case, I look to see their explanation for this one. Isn't one. I don't know why it happened. It just did. So lo and behold, there's a little bit of a hint in Pluto. Something could be going on with this alignment. But let's now go to Neptune. Fairly big planet, a gas planet. And as you know, it's all one colour, a bluish sort of green colour. No, it's not. It's changed. Do you know how Jupiter has one eye? That sort of eye in the middle of it? Mm-hmm. Well, Neptune's now got two. They just turned up. They're there now. They were never there before. And by proportion to the size of the planet, both those eyes are bigger in proportion than the one in Jupiter. Takes up more of what you can see of the planet. Now that's a bit amazing. But what's really amazing, and again, this comes from NASA, is this. They're going the wrong way. They're spinning in reverse. Now remember, those eyes are on the planet itself. They're not like floating above it. It's not like a cloud above. It's on the planet. The planet is gas. It's going the wrong way. Now, they're not prepared to say that the planet's reversed its spin, which it has, because if the two eyes are going the wrong way, in Jupiter, the eyes goes the way of the planet, but not in Neptune. It's spinning the opposite direction. Now, that takes a lot of force. It's got to stop the planet and then respin it the other way. Now, that, by the way, you might think that sounds a bit bizarre, but it's true. It is actually true. That's what's happened. So, there's a bit of a hint now. We've got the two planets on the outside there, right? And I've been told by other people, check out Uranus. That's going to go next. That's about to move also. But we'll leave that for now. Let's go the other side now. Let's come down our side. Next closest planet is Mars. NASA's made an announcement about Mars, ladies and gentlemen. It's moved. The axis moved 4 inches. They've measured it, it moved. And it's done it within days of this, either just on or just after. 4 inches doesn't sound a lot, but you'd see how much force you would need to push Mars 4 inches. It's not a wheelbarrow. It's a massive amount. Something phenomenal has made that planet tilt 4 inches all at once. NASA's explanation is, we don't know. Now, if you go to the sun itself, if you check the days after, the greatest solar flares and the greatest winds that came out of that sun in so long came out of there at the same time. So when you look around the whole of the solar system, something's going on. And why don't we finish our little factual talk before we come back to how to get onto this road that's formed up, or river, as the Hoppy calls it, and we will talk about the Hoppy in a sec. Let's go to the Earth. Now, what happened there? Well, I'm going to tell you, but virtually nobody knows about it because media shut up on this one. We had the 2 largest earthquakes ever measured on this planet, about a minute apart. Now, San Francisco was taken out with 9.2. Now, remember those numbers are exponential, so it's not just a little bit more from Chile to San Francisco, it's a lot more. What people don't know, and I've seen it, and it is true, I'm not making it up, I've seen the actual graphs of it, is there were 2 earthquakes, I think 2 days after. 9.6 followed by 9.7. That's wrong. Should be the other way around. But 9.7, man, that would destroy any city on this planet. Wipe it out entirely. We didn't hear about it. And you know why? No, it wasn't in Chile. It wasn't in the Ring of Fire. Wasn't in Croatia, wasn't in Greece, wasn't in Turkey. It was in Antarctica. A place where there's not supposed to be earthquakes, but remember, it's down the bottom. Same way Mars moved 4 inches, something happened there. Now, those earthquakes took place within days, if not the day of, maybe 2 days after, of this conjunction. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you something now. The conjunction affected everything on this planet, on this solar system, from Pluto through to the sun. Everything was working, and the major point of contact was not the earthquakes in Antarctica, it was Uluru, and you can see the flash of light there. Now, before I go on to the most important part of this about what comes next, and I've got to tell you, all of our online conferences coming up this year, we're going to put up some evidence each time. And then all of us, all the elders, and I brought in 3 of the best elders in Australia to talk about this. It's called ouralienancestry.net. That's how you get to it. We're going to be talking about what comes next, because it has happened and the time is short. But I want to close. I mean, we've got a lot more coming up. We're going to start using, I've got hundreds of testimonies we're going to put up. But I thought I needed to put up a lot of empirical photographic evidence so that when you read the testimonies, you don't think, oh, he just made it up. Now, of the millions that were involved in meditation that day, we chose 1 account. No photo. In fact, this person was on their own. No corroborating evidence. It happened in Tasmania. And what took place was it was raining in Tasmania, and you guys wouldn't know this because you're not in Australia, but that's often happens there. And this person went out to meditate in the rain at 7:32 in Tasmania, and as she sat there, just before she was about to begin, out of the bush, a cow wandered over and then stood alongside her as it got to 7:32. And according to her, at 7:32, the cow began to weep. Yes, I had to check. I had to find out whether cows cry because I didn't know, but they do.
Incredible.
I found that out. Now, I chose that for a reason, because lots of people told me about their dogs and their cats reacting all day, doing things they've never seen before, doing the amazing things. But people could say, cynics could say, the dogs and cats were reacting to their masters and their hosts who look after them and reacting to what they were doing and feeding off that. But the cow, she never saw the cow before, never saw it again. She walked into the bush, didn't come from that farm, and was shocked when it turned up, but it just stood alongside her and wept. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us now assume that something did happen on that day. Now what I want to do is I now want to refer to, in the article we wrote up, and we're about to write another one, it'll go up tomorrow, I think, but we can't send it anywhere now because Facebook have locked us out, like everyone in this. Smashed by a gentleman whose name I won't mention, that owns Facebook, and he's trying to do Australia in so the rest of the world goes cows under. So that's a different story, but yep, lo and behold, we have to deal with that, but we can't put up our links, but it's there. But what I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is this. In that hobby, we put the whole prophecy in. I'm going to try and paraphrase it. And I know the Mayans spoke about two roads that would form, and all the indigenous people have been talking about a choice that everyone's made. It's begun. But I want to talk about what the hobby said because they give us more clues. It starts like this, and I can't get it word for word because I don't have it with me and Evan's not here. It starts with this commentary. It starts by saying, for some time now, we've been talking about the 11th hour. Then he stops and says, but the hour has come. It is with you. He starts by saying, go back to your neighborhood, check the water, check different things, and goes on about the things you should check first. And then he says something else. He says this. He says, there is a fast-flowing river that has now begun to flow. Most people will not step in. They will cling to the shore. That's the other path. They will refuse to go in because you'll need to make a leap of faith to jump into that river. I remember this line that says, when you get in this river, look around who are the people with you and celebrate with them for what you've done. Then warns you further on, once you're in this river, never let your ego speak again, because if it does, your spiritual development will stop then and you will fall out of that river.
Wow.
You must stay strong as you go through this because there'll be trials ahead. And then goes at the finish. I remember the last line because it's the most important line there. He says, we are the ones we have been waiting for. And what he's saying, and what this is all about, is this, that you individually are on your own now. Each person is up to themselves what they do next. No one else can help but yourself now. If you jump into this river, geez, I can't even swim normally, so it's even doubly hard for me to even visualize. You've got to jump in. You've got to go with this flow because this flow has a destination. It was made clear in that prophecy. It has a destination. It is going somewhere. But the ones on the shore are going nowhere. So that's the prophecy. Now the question is, and it's a big one, how do you get on that river? And I want to share with you in the time we've got, because I'm checking now, I know we'll finish at 8. How you get on that river. I do remember I had a meeting with one, let's say one person was passing on that information who later on turned feral and started attacking this, but at the time was telling the truth. This happened to quite a few people because this is such an important time that anything you're hiding underneath will come out. So I remember at the finish when they told me about the fact the world is going to split into two ways. And I asked them, well, yeah, okay. And I said, well, what percentage of people will walk on the higher road, the enlightened road? And this person said, the elders have spoke about this. They've given a percentage. And they asked me, what do you think it would be? And I said 25%. I said, because most people don't get the sort of stuff we're talking about today and don't believe in this sort of stuff and think we're crazy, hippies or new ages, whatever you want to call it, whatever insult they throw out. They say all that stuff. But they're good people. They love other people. They care for other people. And this elder said to me, oh, okay. So they're coming to school and they're playing well in the playground, but they don't take any lessons. Therefore, you think that's good enough, do you? Do you think that people just come here to learn how to like other people? Don't you think they came here to learn about the meaning of life and what everything means? Is that not important? I said, well, it is. He said, well, then that's not good enough. Those people have learnt one thing. This is two different things you've got to learn. They've only learnt one. Not enough. I said, oh, okay, right on. By the way, you should learn something about this. Never question people. Just take their answer and be done with it. But I wanted to fight it. I said, okay, I'll go to 10%. I believe that 10% of the population will get this right. I said, they're trying to understand love and magic, and also they get this to an extent. Oh, really? Yes, I'm going to stand by that one. They said, now tell me, do these people ever run into fools and idiots from day to day? I said, oh, well, it's planet Earth. Of course they do. They're everywhere. I said, they own nearly everything. That's just part of the deal. Do they complain about it? Well, yeah, a lot of them do. I mean, geez, what do you expect? Ah, he said, the world is full of negative thoughts. Do you believe that thoughts have an energy? I said, yeah, I do. Well, so what are they creating? At this late stage, what are they actually making? Negative thoughts. They're infecting other people who had positive thoughts with negative thoughts about someone that's not their problem. Why are they doing that now? Don't they understand that we have enough negative thoughts there? Yes. I said, yeah, you're right. I said, well, then they're no good to us. They're no good to us because that thought has a power of itself and they've created negativity. Those people will not walk on the road. Oh, okay. I said, all right. I said, what about this? I don't run down people behind their back. I don't do that, Nick. I don't do that. Don't do that at all. A lot of others don't. Okay, some do, but some don't. Let's go for 5%. Because, by the way, the number they gave when they finished was 2 to 3%. I said, I'm going to stick with 5%. I said, I make sure that I don't do that. And the elder said, oh, do you? I said, yeah, no, I'm okay. I felt pretty confident. Then he said to me, did we not agree that thoughts have an energy? I said, yes, we did. So because you don't verbalize that thought, but you think it, somehow you think you've escaped the cause, have you? I said, oh, well, maybe not. I said, if that's the case, looks like I'm going with a mob that aren't staying. I said, looks like I'm going. He said, no. He said, this is not the point. He said, this is a race that you're only judged at the finishing line. And remember, the race has begun. It began on the 21st of December. He said, this is what happens. He said, no, yes, you are right. You shouldn't think this. And this is what I'm getting to, ladies and gentlemen. How you get on that, into that river is very simple. You first of all clean yourself out completely. And when people do stupid things, there's only one word that fits in, and it's whatever. You don't give them love. You don't give them hate. You give it nothing. If they want to go that way, if they want to say stupid things, if they want to say hurtful things about you at this late stage of development, there's no punishment for you in that. It's theirs. Those words will end up haunting them. They will become the judge, jury, and executioner of their own soul. Let them say it. It's not for you to worry about it now because that's not part of your journey. Just say whatever. That's all you need to say. And the second thing you need to do is this. At that conference, after the ceremony, when everyone that was there changed their lives forever. Everyone's told me that. They've never been through anything like it before. And we're doing a question and answer, and someone stood up and said to me, I've got relations and friends that don't get it. What can I do to convince them that this is right? My answer was this: nothing. That's not your job to anymore. Everyone, we are the ones we're waiting for. You, yourself, have to look after yourself. Other people have got to choose for themselves. You can't do that anymore. I said, but what you can do, that's exactly right. We are on our own journeys now, And if you want to join a team, if you want to follow the Pope, fine, do it. I'm not going to stop you, but you're on the wrong road. You won't get in that river because you've got to dive in yourself, not somebody holding your hand telling you how to do it. You've got to do this yourself. And I said, what you've got to do, and I'm asking people listening to do the same thing, you've got to do seed dreaming. You take the seeds and you throw them everywhere. You go and see your friends, your relations, and you tell them this story. You tell them about what's happened. And if they don't believe you, refer them to our website and they can look at the photos. And that might sit in there. And I said to these people, once you've thrown the seeds out once, don't come back the next day and throw the seeds at them again. You're nagging them. You can only throw them once. If they take root today, tomorrow, 2 months away, a year away, it doesn't matter. Just throw the seeds out there. And as the world falls apart more and more every day, which it is, and if you notice now, the world is dividing into two groups. Those that want to do what they're told and those that don't. This has happened since the 21st. That gap between the two groups is becoming greater every day. The people who don't take the COVID virus, who don't believe in this stuff, will become the lepers. People won't want to go near you. They won't want to touch you because you haven't got the jab. It's ridiculous, because if they've got the jab, they won't get it. At least they think they won't. So why should they fear me? But that's what's going to happen. So what I've said to people is this: you cannot do anything to change anyone. All you can do is throw the seeds at them. And if they take root, then fine. That is their journey, not yours. So ladies and gentlemen, this time that I'm speaking about, and I mainly wanted just to talk about this today, so I do apologise today, because he thought I was going to speak for 2 hours, but 2 hours would be too long. I'd be repeating myself, and I wanted to make this short and sharp in 1 hour, which is short for me. I want you to understand that this is what you've got. You've got to make a leap of faith, and I love it. Oh, by the way, we do, everyone said, oh, I hope there's pictures of UFOs over Uluru, because then I'll join in. And I'm thinking, I hope there aren't. Well, we have got them, but I'm not putting them out for a while. We've got them. There are 3 frames with the damn thing going across there, but I was hoping that wouldn't happen, because I wanted this to be a leap of faith. Now think about this. There's 15 million people who did meditation, and by the way, you can do this at any time now. And don't. There's one group who's saying you've got to do it at our time when we set, and you've got to do these things. That's like joining the Pope again, man. You can't follow anyone else. All you need to do now, Uluru is open. It's like a royal telephone now. All you need to do is to go and sit on the ground, sit near a tree, hold a tree, and send positive thoughts. And it will go to Uluru and continue this process. The rock is alive and growing. I've been told that at one stage, I was told recently, the Schumann Resonance went up into the thousands. Now it's going to grow. It's going to grow and get higher and higher and higher. I am told people should never ask why, if aliens are here. They should have always asked, why are they here? They are here for the event. This event, what happens in this planet will reverberate throughout the cosmos. This is the beginning of a change everywhere. That's why they've been here all this time, to see if they can guide us and get us through. I was worried that I wouldn't get 144,000, and we got 15 million. I underestimated. And that number of 2 to 3% has grown, but it's got to grow more. There are many people now despairing, but they need something to hang on to. And it's your job, if you've heard about this, go to our website, maybe even come and see our next online conference, where I'll give a lot more information than what I've given now. Another 40 minutes, some of it you've heard before because you've heard it now. Go and have a small break when that's on and come back for the other stuff. And we've got the great elders in. And they're going to be talking about how we live next. Because, okay, 2 minutes to go, so I'm going to close up now. Because that's what this is about now, ladies and gentlemen. The world is falling apart in front of our eyes. Think about this. For the first time ever, when you go outside, people are scared of the air we breathe. If our society has got to the stage where we're scared of touching people near us, shaking hands, making physical contact with other humans, scared of the air we breathe, we are now scared, full stop, all the time. And I'm going to quote from a great film, but it's way back, and another one's coming up again, called June, where they made this wonderful statement: fear is the mind killer. You've got to save these people whose minds are being killed by this every day. When people talk about COVID, go up to them and say, it's not all bad. There's a silver lining here, because this means that people are either falling into one group or the other. What I'm going to say in finishing is this, ladies and gentlemen. The Mayans said there would be two roads. The indigenous people around the world have all been talking about this prophecy of the change that would come. The Hopi said the hour is here. It's up to every person on this planet to make a decision. I can tell you this, it goes for 2, maybe 3 years, and after that, the 2 vibrations, one disappears. And when it does, all the souls attached to that lower vibration go with it. I'm not saying they won't come back. They don't go to hell. They go to lower vibration planets and they learn their lessons there. They can't stay here because the high vibration of this planet, once it's set, would kill them when they were born. And the reason why we've got to wait 2 to 3, maybe 4 years at most, is as the planet starts to vibrate higher, we've got to get used to this. If it went to where it's going to go straight away, everyone would go with it. We have to clean ourselves up to get ready for this. As the Hopi said, we are the ones we have been waiting for. I'm assuming everyone we're speaking to is one of those ones. Look around at your family and friends and ask yourself, do you want them to join you? And if you do, then go and do some seed dreaming, because if you do that, that's all you need to do. And I think I've just about finished. I thank you for that. A bit unusual today, because I never got a question from anyone. But I think we got through it. And thank you, David. I know it was a bit tricky this time. I'm a Luddite. I don't know how to work computers. I don't know how to press the damn button. Yeah, we did do it. We did it really well. Science. Never done this before. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you like, come and join us on our online conference. It'll be great. Okay, thank you so much. And thank you, David. And thank you, Messi, I think it is. If I mispronounced that, apologies. We did pull this off, and even though we never met or spoke to each other, thanks for your time. Close enough is right. It's as close as we can get.
Excellent.
I'll try and learn to turn this off.
And thank you so much. And this is David Meckie, Shiny Side Out.
Right.
And yeah, we'll catch you next week. It's time for Jebez's show. And yeah, enjoy your week.